Seguramente no tienes mucha idea de lo que se trata este video, pero tiene más importancia de lo que tú crees. A ver, si tú me puedes preguntar como que qué chingados tiene que ver este video con la entrevista de hoy. Una entrevista que es bastante especial, no te voy a mentir, principalmente por este video. Ese video que tú viste ocurrió cuando yo apenas estaba empezando la cuenta de TikTok de Vinyleo Records, donde yo me dedicaba más que nada a recomendar artistas underground dentro de la escena del hip hop, que era lo que más me gustaba en aquel entonces y todavía me gusta. Y en una de esas recomendé a un artista llamado D2x, el artista que vamos a entrevistar el día de hoy. En la entrevista se van a enterar de quién es, pero por si no lo saben, vayan a escucharlo, la verdad vale muchísimo la pena. Y bueno, el año pasado yo subí este TikTok recomendando una canción random de D2x y este TikTok llegó a sus manos y él lo empezó a promocionar en todas sus redes sociales, algo que me hizo muchísima ilusión porque estoy cumpliendo el propósito que yo quiero hacer, que es hacer crecer artistas bajo mi influencia, poniéndolo en palabras simples, principalmente dentro de la escena del hip hop, que es el género que más me encanta el hip hop. Y la verdad es que en esta entrevista me metí demasiado de lleno en las letras, en los mensajes, en todo lo que tiene que ver con el hip hop, porque me gusta mucho este género y por eso me encantó la entrevista. Pero ya no les quiero hacer más spoiler de lo que vamos a ver en la entrevista, porque estoy haciendo una intro aquí con ustedes porque quiero que entiendan lo especial que es tanto para mí como para él, como para todo el contexto de este canal, esta entrevista. Después de casi un año en el que este video llegó a las manos de este rapero, estuvimos en constante contacto mientras él me decía que estaba trabajando en un EP que ya salió y por el cual estamos haciendo esta entrevista, logrando como un momento de círculo completo, donde por fin logré contactar con el primer artista que reconoció mi trabajo y que para mí siempre va a tener un lugar especial en mi corazón. Así que no me enrollo más, no meto más introducciones, pasemos ya con la entrevista del día de hoy. Muchas gracias a todos por apoyarme, esto no sería posible sin ustedes y esperemos que más raperos abran sus puertas para hablar con gente en México. Así que nada, los dejo con la entrevista. So, hey guys, as you know, we're here right now with a special guest. Those who saw the video where this guy promoted me on his Twitter, on his social media, an amazing rapper, one of my favorite rappers out now. Such a high energy, such a motivational lyrics on his music. Coming from Chicago, D2x, man, how you doing?
Hey Leo, thank you for having me, man. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling just grateful and very like calm this lately. Been a little tired, but for the most part, I'm pushing through. So
nice. How it is, man. How it is.
Yeah.
That's the process of it. I mean, what can I say? You dropped your first EP on 2018, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. It's called Enjoy Life, and you've been dropping gems since the Color Blue, Hotel 1105. That I love that project, one of my favorites from last year, and most recently the Hunger Era. By the way, congratulations on the dropping this album. How you feeling right now with this EP?
I'm feeling good. I think what I'm most importantly like proud of the most is just reaching a completion point. I think for me, the most challenging thing with this project, other than like obviously what goes into creating, like a lot of things sometimes take time. The recording process, the production, just being patient in each process and getting the rollout together. But like the most challenging thing was being able to come back a year later and release another project after going through what I went through on my last one, a lot of personal things, and being able to like kind of push myself and challenge myself to do something fresh, new, because it's kind of like sonically, it's like a complete difference from my last project.
Yeah.
But it's also like a part of me, who I am. And I think throughout each project that I release, I'm showing more and more of like the things that I'm really into musically. And I'm just glad that I was able to make something different. And it still took the same amount of energy and effort as anything that I make. So I'm just grateful that I was able to be consistent, this year, and I plan on continuing to do that moving forward.
I really like the rollout. I mean, the visuals. I mean, they're
That's
really
crazy.
and all this. I'm gonna talk about it later, but this comic inspired thematic is really cool with the names, even in the names of it. Before going on the music that you like, the process of making the album, I'd like for you to open up and introduce yourself to those people who don't know you from here in Mexico.
Yeah, I go by the name of D2x. Once again, I'm from the south side of Chicago. I've been making music since 2016, 17. 2017, I put out my first song.
Yeah, Surviving America, right?
America, yeah. That was the first song I ever like recorded in like a real studio, like a professional studio. And And I'll never forget that day. I put so much energy into that, and just to see how much I've grown since then, and not giving up, and really having to grow my brand and my fan base from literally 5 people to thousands it's been very like rewarding, but it's also been tough. And the type of music that I make is very introspective, also fun and high energy. I'm always wanting to create something that's very near and dear to me. I make a lot of personal records that I make for myself, but also I feel like I want to help people through my music, and that's what I stand for completely, is using this gift to be able to build a village around it, and we can all grow together through what I make on my own. And I feel like that's the beauty of being a artist, and also a hip hop artist for sure, being able to bend and use words and being able to tell stories through our experiences. And that's what I want to continue to do, and that's my motivation.
Beautiful. No, yeah, I love that from hip hop, like telling stories, and you always like to tell your story, right? Right now you got like 50,000 monthly listeners.
We're running on 60. Yeah, it's moving up.
Almost 60.
It's kind of cool, man.
It's been a long journey, but it's beautiful. No, yeah. Congrats, man. Congrats. Really.
Thank you so much. It sounds good.
It really sounds good. I mean,
trying to get to 1 million.
Yeah, I really hope that happens. I want to see you with a couple millions, even more. I would love that. So I want to talk right now about your music influence before moving on to the project, because I think it's really important. And you got a lot of energy on your bars, and also the production with a lot of soulful, jazzy production instrumentals. And that kind of energy, not the production, but that kind of energy reminds me a lot of those early Kanye days when he was like a lot of drive, a lot of hunger with his bars, and playing with rhymes and making some jokes about it, but also being so inspirational. So is there any influence by, I mean, you can say Kanye, or you can say any other rappers. I mean, I know you're from a city with a lot of legends from the game. So is there any influence to your flow, or do you really got your own thing?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I feel like I've been able to have my own thing through my experiences, and then also putting a twist on it with me just normally, like naturally being myself. That's what I stand by anytime I make something. But I feel like every idea comes from something in some form of fashion, and we're able to create it into our own as artists. But for me personally, when I got into music, but even just being a fan of music growing up, my favorite artists were always like Kanye, Jay-Z, like as a kid, and then like getting a little bit older, going into like middle school into high school, I really got hooked onto like J. Cole and his old mixtapes, from the warm up to Friday Night Lights, even the come up, and that was really my favorite artist. And J. Cole is literally my favorite artist to this day. But I think it was Cole, it was Wale, it was Mac Miller during the 2010s like mixtape era, and then Jay-Z and Kanye. And now, like as an adult, I would add like Common, to that mix. So it's like those are my biggest influences. It's Cole, Kanye, Jay-Z, and then like Mac Miller and Common would probably be like my favorite artists that I draw inspiration from.
Yeah, man, you even got a song that's called B on
the
album, and you talk about, I mean, listening to the Black Album, listening to College Dropout, I think also Get Rich or Die Trying. I don't know.
Man, all of those CDs. I just remember seeing that when I was young. I remember when one of my uncle Tremaine, when I was like 4 years old, I just remember him playing all kind of music in like the apartment that I grew up in the city, like on the south side, that my grandma used to own at the time. This is early 2000s, and I remember him playing, like Get Rich or Die Trying. He also had the Beg for Mercy G-Unit mixed project, and I remember hearing that for the first time. And then my auntie She used to play a lot of Jay-Z in the car. That's when I heard the Black Album for the first time. I heard Blueprint for the first time. And
Yes.
I remember as a kid trying to remember the song Cry. I didn't know the name of it. I just knew the sound. And I just couldn't remember what that song was. And then when I got a little older to go back to it, and now as I'm 27 now, it's like going back to those records that I heard a long time ago when I was young. It's still being talked about today. And I just think that's amazing. And
I mean, they're amazing projects.
Yeah.
They're amazing projects, and they need to be talked about like forever. I love it. So do you listen to any other genres besides of hip hop to inspire you to your production?
Yeah, I play a lot of stuff. I'm very like, I know maybe people know or not, but like I'm very, very like deep into jazz. Even my last project, Hotel 1105, I was listening to a lot of
it's very jazzy.
Yeah, like Nina Simone. I was playing a lot of Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole, Thelonious Monk, Miles Davis, John Coltrane. Those are like my favorite like jazz musicians or who's in that kind of realm. So jazz. Oh, Herbie Hancock, who's also from Chicago, a very like a legendary jazz musician. He still like plays to this day. Jazz is like a heavy genre that I play a lot when I need to calm down and don't want to hear words all the time through hip hop. I also am I became a big fan this year, a little more diving deep into like listening to a lot of like rock music and classic rock, and I was playing everything, like especially making the Hunger era. I made an entire playlist of rock records because I wanted to try to tap into something else that I like. I just never took the time to challenge myself to do it. So like a song like Fire, like I was able to do that, and I was listening to a lot of Jimi Hendrix, a lot of what else was on the playlist? AC/DC, Green Day, Nirvana, so many like rock and roll and a lot of classic rock and alternative. So those are like the two genres that I play, I would say, the most outside of hip hop. But I play everything, man. Sometimes I might want to hear classical or I'm also a big fan of like electronic and like house music. House music is also originated in Chicago, and I love that type of music as well. And sometimes I try to throw elements of that in my own. So those are like my favorite things to listen to outside of hip hop.
That's cool. Don't you listen to any Mexican artists?
All I know, I don't want to get this wrong, but is Bad Bunny from Mexico?
No, he's not from Mexico.
Oh my God.
He's Puerto Rican.
Oh, see,
but you surely know Peso Pluma.
I don't think so.
No, you don't know Peso Pluma? I mean, he went.
I'm not sure.
Worldwide, he went on the Jimmy Fallon show.
I gotta see what he looked like. Honestly, a lot of times when I don't know names, if I see a face, I'll be like, oh, I've saw that person before, but I just don't know specifically like names. I haven't taken the time. Like, who's the most famous artist to come out of Mexico?
In history of all time.
Top three in history, yeah.
Of all time, maybe Luis Miguel. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he was the most famous. Like he was really,
you said Miguel,
really worldwide.
Right?
He went really worldwide.
Okay.
There's a lot of good artists here, and they don't just make.
I know one.
They don't just make like these corridos and all that. Actually, to Camp Flockno, a group went there that is called Latin Mafia. It's a pretty
I'm gonna look them up.
Yeah, you should look them up. And they're singing like R&B or pop. It's really good.
It's you said Latin Mafia?
Latin Mafia, yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna ask just a final question before asking about some lyrics and songs and production about the album.
Nice.
There's a lot of energy on the bars that you deliver. We already said that. but there's also a lot of substance on those lyrics, a lot of personal experience, a lot of references, even entendres that we don't get maybe. Does your lyrics have any message that you're looking to spread to the people that listen to you, or do you just like to play with the music and make it to yourself?
No, I feel like anything that I make is coming from a personal place. That's kind of what motivates me to make music, is I literally have to kind of talk about things that's going on in my life, or that's like, or whatever drives me to be motivated, whatever. Like, everything is coming from like a personal place. And my whole entire goal since I started making music until this day is literally like to create something that I feel like could help someone, because that was what made me get into hip hop. Like, I was playing like a lot of J. Cole growing up from the 7th grade, and even like Mac Miller with The Best Day Ever, and Kids, and Blue Slide Park, and then going into swimming and all of those things. Like, that's the type of music that I love to like make. And in this case, with this project, even though I was able to have a little more fun, there was a true message behind this for me personally, and to share to other people. Was like, I think we all have an ambitious state and drive within all of us, because I feel like all of us, even if we fail at something or not, the wins and losses that just comes with life in general will also, I feel like, make a person want to get up every day and want to go harder and to be the best version of yourself. That was really like the key thing that I was trying to say within this project, and through my words and spilling and just like speaking things into existence even more, and also being able to just like champion myself before anybody else has to or does. That's what I wanted to portray. Like, I'm gonna believe in me and believe in where I'm at, and I believe I'm in this place right now, and life just has to kind of catch up with what I'm dreaming about in my mind. And that's what my entire goal was just to create something that I feel like can give someone something to listen to every day that can motivate them. If you got to go to the gym or work, or you're studying for a big test, or you got a big interview tomorrow, or a big, anything, photo shoot, video shoot, art class, like whatever the case may be, I wanted to make something that could give people something to feel good about too, waking up every day and being motivated overall. So
yeah, that's dope. I'm gonna let you know that I felt that when I heard that. Yeah, I heard that, and at the first time I was like going at it. I was turned up. I love and I felt that energy. It really like, how what's the word? I forgot. It projects. I think that's the word. It projects this. This album projects this energy, and you feel it. You don't even have to listen to the lyrics or the production. You just listen to these melodies, and you go in full motivation. I loved it. Moving on to the Hunger era, this EP that you dropped 3 weeks ago.
About 2 weeks ago, yeah.
2 weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago. Where does the name comes from? This theme of Hunger era.
Great question. So I don't know if you remember or not, but like, well, a lot of people might not. Like, it's so much stuff that's going on social media on a day-to-day basis. People just see things and you might forget about it in 24 hours. But like, it started, I dropped Hotel 1105, and that came out in August of last year. And then like a few months later, I just wasn't feeling like satisfied. It wasn't that I wasn't proud of what I put out. It was more so like, I felt like I still had something to say. And it was the mood and emotions that you hear on this project was kind of like, was like another part of me. It's like I went through a lot of personal stuff in my life, but I also have this drive every day to be the best artist. And I want to be able to let that come out in the music. And I never really had the chance to really put that in a full project. So I just kept saying Hunger. I don't know where it came from. I just kept saying it, and I literally just made that phrase up out of nowhere. Like, it just popped in my head, and that was literally me just saying like, yeah, I want to go on another run. I want to come back a year later and put something else out. and to give people that listen to me a different side of me, and also for me to want to hear something from me that I've been feeling my entire life. Like ever since I was like 11, 12, 13 years old, like growing up playing basketball, like I was always trying to be different than anybody or anything in my neighborhood. Like I used to, me and my friend Adrian, we used to run like the hills in the park when I was like growing up, like when we were playing sports and just working out like early and getting up every day in the morning to just brainstorm and come up with ideas of what we visualize our future being. And I was always trying to think ahead. And I'm like, I've always been this way my entire life, even into sports. So I wanted to bring that side of me out, and that motto and that phrase just continued to keep growing. And I'm like, all right, I think this is this is the mindset that I want to have coming into 2024. And I literally just hit the ground running, started writing again, started working on beats and production for like 5 to 6 months. Then I got in the studio in January, and then we started to really like kind of map out how I wanted to create it. And I got it done, by the end of like the summer. So that was just me telling myself like, all right, I want to push myself to be the best that I could be now that I've exited from my past life, going through divorce and all of the things that I dealt with. It's like now I think this season that I'm in my life right now, even in today, like I feel like this is a moment in my life where I could just get to focus more on myself. So I was like, what is my motivation now? In the past, a lot of my music, especially my first 2 projects, it was personal, but it was also it was very like family driven, because that's what I was waking up to live for every day. And now where I'm at in my life, I got to do a lot more internal work, working on myself and focusing on myself and being prepared to like have a real family one day and my own children, and being able to be prepared for the things that I might have that didn't go the way I wanted to in the past. So this season I'm in right now, it's like I get a chance to really focus on being the best version of myself before, I'm ready to kind of do anything else. So right. I know it's a long-winded answer, but yeah, that's
no. I love it. I mean, it's deep. It's the way I wanted to. I mean, I wanted you to give this deep meaning of the name so the people can really understand it, And I want to ask, how does all these long answer that you gave, these deep thoughts, these deep perspectives and experiences relates to the comic book theme, with using these skits of movies and cartoons and all that?
Yeah, the superhero aesthetic, I believe that came from trying to remember how I came up with that idea. Oh, so the theme song, the intro, the first half, that beat, shout out my guy Player Hayes. He's worked with a lot of underground artists, from Navy Blue to Pink Seafood, Fly Anakin, a lot of underground guys who's been making waves for a while. And one thing about him, he always sends like these like beats that have just cool sounds that you will never hear anywhere else, like all kind of weird noises that I don't normally hear. And that's what I love about working with him, is it's always something different. Like you never know where he sampled it at. And when I heard that, I'm like, this sounds like the beginning of like a Superman movie or film or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Like, that's what motivated me to start writing. And I wrote the first half of that song in my notebook. And when I heard that, and I'm like, oh man, like, I think I want to kind of continue this theme. Like, I see myself as like a larger than life kind of figure. And then it was partially that, but also the other reason how I kind of got into the superhero theme was, shout out Tori Pinto, who I worked with on the cover art. He worked with Metro Boomin for like the rollout artistic like side of the rollout.
I've seen a lot of
Heroes and Villains.
It's good.
He does a lot of cool stuff, man. And so I meant to work with him years ago. I wanted to get him to do like this cover art, Faith, for like the Hotel 1105 single, but it was just the timing, and then also the artistic direction I was going in I was like, all right, I want to do the comic book thing later. When I came back and worked with him, and I told him the concept that I had and how like the origins of the cover art, even like from the way that you see the title, a lot of that came from me sending him a photo of J. Cole's The Come Up mixtape single, and that's why you see like the city in the background and he's wearing a hoodie and all of that stuff. Like it actually stemmed from that. I seen him post like he posts a lot of posters, a lot of things that he creates, but the one that caught my eye was the one he did of Raekwon from Wu-Tang Clan. And I saw that, and then I saw one he did of Ghostface Killah, and then a few other artists, and I'm like, all right. And the one with Raekwon literally had like kind of something similar like I had, with the microphone in hand, like looking like a very like larger than life figure, and I'm like, I want something like that. So it was those two things, like the Wu-Tang Clan inspiration. It also reminded me of MF Doom a lot, and then seeing like the J. Cole thing, and then putting those things together. And when I saw the cover, then that also really helped me like kind of plan out how I wanted to do it. So that's something that people don't normally know about me, is like the cover art for the front covers for my projects are always done before the music. That gives me a direction to be able to kind of world build. It gives
you the idea, yeah.
Exactly. I'll always kind of know what I want the idea to be beforehand. Not completely, obviously, because you got to create, but like just the starting point. If I know that I want to make a movie on X, Y, and Z, or if I want to write a book on X, Y, and Z, and then I have something to visually kind of put me in that place, then everything I create is literally like kind of centered around it. So it's, to me, it makes it easier to create music and pick out what beats you want to make, because it has to follow kind of like this artistic thing that I'm visualizing. And I think that's the cool thing. Like, I want my covers to match the music because they're all in one.
Yeah, I mean, as a listener, I really appreciate that, because I love projects that are like cohesive, you know, that really embodies the whole idea of any of the you got. I mean, your beats are really like comic, like, you know, when you hear like MF Doom or something like that, you really hear even the skits. I mean, I'm about to hop on the theme song that is the intro. We hear this Batman skit. We hear an amazing beat switch. I love the pacing of the song. These a lot of driving, high energy bars. I actually took a screenshot of Genius of a bar that I like a lot. Not what it says, but how it sounds. I love when a rapper does this on his rhyme schemes, like using similar words, is hooking up this music. The flow stupid, this not a race. The placing of my pace to wait, the hunger to cement my face on Rushmore as a heavyweight. It's like you're using a lot of similar words, you know.
That's kind of cool. You broke it down. Wow, yeah. That's cool.
I mean, I'm really into that, like the rhyme schemes. Did you intentionally do that?
Yeah, sometimes, but for the most part, it's literally just coming off like muscle memory. Like, I'm on a. You can hear me?
Yeah.
All right, it's acting a little bit. Okay, yeah. No, it's literally like muscle memory. It's more of like a natural thing. Like, if you've been dribbling a basketball your entire life, and you've been studying Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or LeBron James or whoever, it's like you kind of started. Like, even like, I don't know. Do you watch NBA basketball at all?
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So like a guy like Kyrie Irving, who does all of these like cool hand like moves and stuff. It's like it becomes second nature after a while because he's been practicing for so long. So for me, it's like a lot of times I might not even notice something until a little bit after, when I made it and I read over it and I'm like, oh snap. But when I'm in a process of writing, it just comes, and then I start to notice the patterns like after like I'm done for the most part. But like, yeah, I think it just comes with experience. Like I've been doing it for so long. I've been able to learn, like new ways to say words, and it literally came from reading. Like, I read Jay-Z's Decoded book, and he broke down a lot of his like lyrics, and a lot of his like famous and classic songs, and then the stories behind how he became an artist. Like the book came out in 2011, but it was very insightful. And then I read Kobe Bryant's Mamba Mentality book, and that put me in a great mindset. And then I read a bunch of comic books, and it's like those three things in one was the scope of how I mentally prepared myself to write. And when I did a lot of reading and listening to a lot of music as well, I was listening to a lot of Wu-Tang Clan projects, and just hearing the way that like guys like Raekwon and Ghostface Killah and GZA and the whole entire clan, the way that they were able to bend words was just, I don't know, it helped me being able to like kind of tap into something different. So it's like, I don't know, it's like when I'm writing, I could just go through the whole process and I just was able to somehow do it that way. Like I still surprise myself now, like listening to the project, like I don't know how I was able to do that, but it's literally just taking the time to sit down and listen and try to figure out ways to say something. And I think I've gotten better at that over the past, year.
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, I mean, it comes off the dome, like out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, that's great. That's crazy. I'm really curious about that, because there's a lot of these Instagram, TikTok, YouTube pages that like dissect these lyrics, and they're like, oh, this is a double, triple entendre, and these references to that, and maybe the rapper doesn't even think about what he's saying. He just like throws the bars, or maybe they do think about it. I don't know, but I was really,
for me it's like 50-50. Sometimes I purposely try to do something, and then sometimes it just happens. Like, but the coolest things is when it just comes out of nowhere. And then you're like, oh snap! How did I just think of that? It's insane.
And you say like, oh, I'm so good. I'm the best. You feel like on top of the world. I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm really sorry if I'm not like tapped in, but there's a bar. I don't have it here, but it says like HOD. Okay. That's coming soon or something like that. Do you remember?
Yeah, those are the abbreviations of my third album. Which a lot of people is calling this an album, but it's technically an EP.
Okay.
Even on paper, business-wise, it's an EP, but I've let people call it whatever they want to call it at this point, because on like places like Spotify and stuff like that, you can't really change the categorization of the project.
Yeah, of course.
Because technically an EP is supposed to be 6 songs or less, but it can also be 7, and if it's less than 30 minutes,
it's less than 30. Yeah, it's an EP.
Yeah, but at this point, I really don't care anymore, because the reason why I'm saying that, because I tried to correct people a few times on Twitter, but then I just kept getting mentions, people saying the album, so I'm like, you can call it whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just happy that people like it. But yeah, the reason why I wanted this to be an EP and not per se an album, because this was like the introduction going into what I'm gonna do next, like, and try to be able to say, instead of just doing like a complete different left turn, I wanted to be able to call it an era and start a new chapter for myself, so I can build into my third project where I could really dive even deeper into telling my stories. And then this project gave me opportunity to also acquire new skills. Like, I feel like before this, I never really took the time out to like go even deep with my metaphors and all kind of ways that I want to like rap. And I think I just acquired a lot of new skills this year with this project, which is going to help me later on, So
HOD is not like an official
I'm good.
Of the next album.
Oh yeah, it is. So it's just the abbreviations. I'm not telling people what it means.
Okay, so you just
I'm not giving that away.
In there to bring out the curiosity.
Those are the abbreviations of whatever those words are for the third album. Yeah, and I'm already kind of working on that now. So it's coming, man.
Oh, that's dope.
And it's incredible. Yeah, it's gonna be incredible. Yeah.
And so going on to Fire, the second single on this project, the promotional single that you dropped like a month or 2 weeks before the releasing of the project.
Yeah, October 8th. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, oh, actually, the Hunger era came out on your birthday, right?
Birthday, October
I
29th.
forgot about that. Yeah. Oh, that was a nice detail. I'm gonna be honest. The first time I heard it, I wasn't very thrilled about it. But the more I started to hear it, the more I started to like it. It really grew out on me. So, what's your thoughts on this song? How it came out? What was the process of it? What does it mean for you?
Fire was just me, like literally just wanting to try something different. I think with this, I think the thing is like with being a musician or artist, like not being afraid to step outside the box. You know, from a listener's perspective, you know, sometimes we might like certain things from our artists, but like if you, for example, like a guy like Tyler, the creator, who's able to try something new every single time he puts something out, like, cause like, and you never know what to expect. Or like one of my favorite artists, Vince Staples, every project he releases sounds nothing like the last one. And I think that's what motivates a lot of artists, especially when you literally like you try to give each project your all. That's what gives you the motivation to like try, like being able to try your best at something when you're trying something new. So for me, I think one time I was on Twitter like early in the year, I had tweeted like send me some rock songs I should sample or something like that I said on Twitter, and a lot of people started to chime in, and I put a playlist together from what fans sent and then things that I looked at on my own, and then me and my guy Ro Moore, who made the beat, we got in the studio and we just went over a lot of stuff. And honestly, what I wanted to actually sample for, like, because I wanted to have one song on a project that had like that rock, like a rock and roll kind of element, and I wanted to sample actually the same song that Kanye West sampled for Power, which was
Oh, really?
by King Crimson. If you've never heard it, 21st Century. Yeah. I wanted to sample that, but I wanted to sample a different part of that record. But Ro tried to do it, and he just had a better idea. He went through the playlist, sent a lot of Jimi Hendrix records and a lot of other cool stuff on there, and we ended up finding a Jimmy record, the Foxy Lady joint, and we went in the studio. He he sampled a small portion of it, and then we were able to connect it with some other rock stuff that he had. Like Ro has this cool formula where he like meshes like 3 different sounds all in one, and we were able to do that, and we made that, and then it just gave me the feeling of like a old like Rick Rubin style, like 99 Problems by Jay-Z, or a Beastie Boys kind of record. Even another record that really inspired me to make that was it was actually a song called Fire by Vince Staples on the Hell Can Wait EP. And those 3 records, or those 3 artists, is like kind of what inspired me to make that. I just wanted to try something out, try something new, and it pushed my pen to be able to like kind of make a song out of it. And I think that that's something that I always want to continue to do, take risks sometimes, like try new things and see if I could capitalize. And I think I was able to accomplish that with that song. So that's why I wanted that one to come out first, like give somebody, like hit people with like a left turn and not know what to expect. And,
yeah, I mean, it really caught me off guard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in some simple words, like what would you say to someone who hasn't listened to this song that makes them want to like really experience?
Play the song when you go into the gym. Play the song when you want to go on a run. Play it before the big day of a game or a test or something. Like, I think that was the importance of this song, and that's why I called it Fire. I wanted to be able to make a record that could describe the burning desire, like the passion and the, you know, the passionate nature that we all have at one and to really, really, really accomplish something. And I think that I was able to do that. And I think for anyone that needs that extra push in the morning, look at this record as like a cup of coffee, or like that adrenaline rush, that rush that you need, that caffeine that you need in the morning. And like, I think that was my purpose of creating it. It's like something with a high force of energy. So
I mean, I can be proof of that. You really listen to this project and you feel motivated. I'm not gonna lie, it goes. And actually, the next song, wow! I mean, wow! Literally, I love that beat. That beat is so good, and the chorus that says like hands up, jumping in the crowd, and like, it gets me going. That chorus gets me going like a lot in these bars with high energy. I also like is the name Chris Patrick.
Chris Patrick is fire,
I also
from New Jersey.
loved his feature. I didn't know him, so I would like you to say first, like, how do you come up with this? That's a very different type of song. Like, it has his chorus, and is more like joyful and moving. And also, what do you think about? What can you say about this Chris Patrick that I don't really know?
Yeah, so first off, making a record with Chris Patrick was fun. I actually had my verses on it prior, so I'll just break it down how I kind of got into making that song. So me and Ro was in the studio. Ro executive produced the project. Ro Moore, along with my guy Go Hayes, they're both Chicago producers. Ro executive produced Hotel 1105.
Yeah,
he produced the record, and it was co-produced by 99, who's also from Chicago. So 99 sent the beat pack with a lot of samples in it. We heard that one. This was me and Ro in the studio. This is probably like back in February when I was working on like the production for the Hunger era. And then we heard that sound, and as soon as I heard it, I'm like, oh, this is special. He started chopping the sample up and then throwing the drums on it and literally do like the hook that you hear, which is like, it's an interpolation of Kanye West's Last Call like verse, but it was also an unreleased song that came out called Wow by Kanye that came out in like a long time ago before the College Dropout came out, and it never came out. And in Last Call, Kanye says, don't use that hook because he might use it later. But I had to do my thing on it, and I think being a Chicago kid, that was where the inspiration was from. And the beat was called Wow. So when I saw the name of the beat called Wow, and then I'm thinking of a hook, that's literally what popped in my head for some reason. Remember what I told you? Like, sometimes I just have these ideas that come out of nowhere.
Come out of nowhere.
When I heard it, I just kept saying a hook. I was writing a hook at the studio. And then when I got home and like just, weeks go by and a month later, I was able to come up with those verses for the song. And then I knew that I wanted to get features on this project just in general. And Chris Patrick was one of the first guys that I thought about. Chris Patrick has been doing his thing for a while. He's from New Jersey. He's opened up for JID and Smino. He opened up for Travis Scott years ago, like back in like 2017, 18. Yeah, he's very connected with a lot of people, but he's been doing his own thing for a long time. He just he's on tour right now with Russ.
Not really.
They just did a European tour. Yeah, like Chris Patrick is incredible, like in his own right. So you definitely should check him out.
I feel dumb right now because I haven't heard of him, and I'm dude, incredible artist, and he takes his craft very serious. And so how that came about was we knew of each other, but I think we wasn't following each other at the time. But he knows a lot of like my mutual friends, like, or music homies, from Ro to Sar, who's also on the project. Like, so I made a tweet like, who do you guys want to see me collaborate with? And everybody was dropping all kind of names, and a fan of mine, a few of them put Chris Patrick, and Chris Patrick responded to the tweet that somebody had sent to me. And then literally I followed him, he followed me back. We literally connected from that point on, and we exchanged numbers. We talked briefly about collaborating, later on or whatever. And then I ended up getting in a group chat with him, an artist named Dante Thomas from Portland. Asar was in there, a few other artists from Chicago, and I think a few other people. And the title, well, the name of the group chat was called A Verse a Day. So we were literally all like kind of challenging each other to like kind of rap over anything and just send it in, like a friendly kind of competition kind of thing, to see how much we could kind of like
write on a day-to-day basis, and I've never really done that. You know, a lot of my stuff has been made just literally like on my own timing or what I'm feeling. And even though it was hard at times to do like on a day-to-day, like, cause I don't write every day, but I literally tried my best to like, you know, kind of continue to be consistent in the chat. And honestly, a lot of the stuff that you hear, a lot of like the lyrics that you hear on this project came from me just participating. And I was rapping on all kind of beats that no one's like, I didn't put it out or any snippets or anything, but I was just putting voice memos to all kind of stuff. And it was able to help me write this project. So that's kind of how we connected. And man, when he sent the verse back, I just knew it was out of here. I'm like, this is amazing. And I know people been wanting to hear us on a song together for a long time. And right now, that's the most popular song on the project right now at this moment. So that's cool. Like,
I think it's mainly because of the structure. Like, it's really catchy, you know. And man, that's dope. I didn't know that you really got like your group and started like got locked in. I mean, really pushing your limits. That's dope. I mean, I love that. And I feel dumb because not knowing about Chris Patrick, but I must start tapping into him.
Yeah.
And moving forward, anyways, with Hills and Hurdles, I think by the title we get a good idea of what's this song about. So what can you tell us about your personal experience creating this song?
So that, I think Hills and Hurdles was more like it was a motivational track for myself. Like, it was literally me like pouring out all of my ambitions, my motivations, and just literally, like, to me, that was a response. That was a response to like how I was feeling when I put Hotel 1105 out. So a lot of people don't know, it's like I put a lot into that project, but I had so many expectations as far as the reception. Like, I thought that the things that I was dealing with in my life, all of the personal struggles, losing family, losing all kind of things, and being able to kind of having to hold myself up. I'm like, if I'm going through all of these hard times, I'm thinking that this is going to be the project to, like, quote unquote, blow me up or be the one where I everything, my whole entire life changes, which it honestly does, just not in the way that we normally think of things changing. But every project you release is like a stepping stone to get to that highest height. And I think when making Hills and Hurdles, it was like a dedication to me to know that, like, I'm going to continue to climb and reach the highest height of every year in every situation and everything that I do. Like, I got to continue to push myself to go hard. And how I came up even with that title, I remember watching J. Cole do the podcast interview with Lil Yachty and his friend. I forgot his friend's name, but yeah, I think it's the Safe Place podcast or something like that. I can't remember. I don't want to get the name. Like, yeah, I don't want to get the name messed up, but yeah, literally, like, Cole mentioned like an analogy in regarding like hurdles and one person could be great at this event in the race or track and field. You know, this person is sprinting, this person is doing this other thing, and I kind of tied it into that. So when I heard him make that comment, I'm like, oh, I'm in my own race. I'm in this own race with myself. I'm in my own climb. I'm in my own lane doing me. And that was the real life, like, deep, like, to a T. Like, that's the song to its core. It was like me focusing on myself and, like, completely running my own race, being patient with my own timing, and not letting anything or anyone deter me from where I see myself going. And that was me just pouring out everything that I believed that I could conquer and accomplish. And I really needed a record like that, and I'm glad that I was able to do it on that one.
Yeah, I mean, that song is really beautiful, the way you put it out, like this perspective of going on your own journey and everything. I really like that song. And I'm really surprised that Hotel 1105 didn't have like millions of these, you know, big numbers. I really expected that when it came out, but
yeah, man, it's hard. It's like it's not that easy nowadays for a lot of up and coming artists, or all of us really. A lot of guys out here are like doing amazing things, like now a year later, Hotel 1105, it's over 1 million streams, but still, even to today, it's like it's all like an accumulation of from YouTube to Apple Music to Spotify. It's like all of these things, and it's like people don't realize it's like it's a big battle to cut through nowadays, and it's like you gotta more so chip away each year with dropping consistently and putting work out and continue to do cool things. And it's like when you finally reach the top, people might forget that it took all of these years to be able to build up. And a lot of our favorite artists has done it, like had to really build from the bottom, like from like a Freddie Gibbs to a Nipsey Hussle, or Larry June was a great example. Like, I remember watching those guys come up from the bottom, where like you heard the work that they were putting out and you knew that it needed more than its just due, but it took a long time for people to kind of catch up to it. And some people got to kind of take that route, and honestly, but I think that's a great thing at the same time, to continue to just be able to like be like the best that I can. So by the time I get to the highest height, I'll be even 10 times better than I am now, and then people will be going back to these projects, and it was like, why didn't I hear about this back then?
Yeah,
but you know, it takes a lot of work to even get to this point. So it's like, I think after dropping that last one, I was just like, ever since then, I've been more grateful now to like just appreciating each project and each song and album or EP, whatever single that you put out. And for me personally, I've been able to like something really, really good has happened every single time. So I think that, you know, I'm just glad that whoever heard it, that's enough for me. Like, at least if even 2 people heard it, I'm grateful.
That's dope. I mean, I love that mentality, actually. Like, you want to keep going. And moving on to the next single, that is Marble.
Yeah.
And bringing again this hungry and vicious energy, like punching with the bars, and with a very different and very aggressive production that is really, I've never heard that before on the Color Blue or Hotel 1105 or anything like that. It was a very different production for me, and I really like the Oscar feature too. So what can you say about this type of production that is really different, and about Oscar that is not as much known as Chris Patrick?
Yeah, so shout out my guy Go Hayes. He made the Marvel beat. He also made Hills and Hurdles with also producer T4L, who made the sample, who chopped the sample. But Go Hayes is amazing, man. Like, his style is very, very hard hitting drums, and Go Hayes has worked with another Chicago artist that's been around for a while, G Herbo. He worked with Pooh Shiesty. Hayes has worked with a lot of dope artists, and what I love about his production is literally it's like that early 2000s feeling that you can't get anywhere else. And it reminds me of Kanye. It reminds me of the Rockefeller days. But like, I think what was so different about the Marvel beat, which he pulled that up in the studio randomly, and he made that beat years ago. But he was telling me, like, I really should hop on this. And I'm just like, it was so difficult to write to, so unorthodox. It was wild, but it was also something that just, it was weird, but it was also something that just kept pulling me back to it. I'm like, I gotta challenge myself, because that was my whole entire like motivation for this project, is like, I want to be able to, like, I want each track, especially because there's 7, and I made it short. I wanted this to be a short project purposely. Like, I wanted to try to challenge myself to be able to pick the most like tight knit and like most like the coolest sounds that I could find. And when I heard that, it sounded like it really sounded like the Hulk or Spider-Man or somebody just running down the street, and like the Hulk like punching through a brick wall. Like it has a very like hard hitting sound to it, and then the sample just feels like you like running. And literally the way I had like the first few bars like written, I think in the studio, but dude, literally for months I just couldn't figure out how to write to it. And then like literally when I got off tour in May and I came back home Chicago like mid-June, I started writing to it again. And literally what helped me make like finish my verses off was literally I started reading. I went back to read. I read like an Iron Man comic book, forgot from what year it was from, and then I read another one, an Avengers book that I bought from Barnes and Noble. And so I started reading a bunch of like comics, and I started thinking about how like words like popping out from each direction kind of thing. And that's how I was visualizing it. Like I want each word to kind of punch through, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how I came up with it. And I started having fun with my words. And then shout out my guy Sar, who hopped on the record. He got on it later, and we ended up having a studio session. And literally, he walked in the booth. He said, "Just give him a second." And it was me, my guy Romore, and a few other guys in the studio having a conversation. And literally, for like 45 minutes to an hour, he wrote that entire verse while we were just talking outside the booth, like just having a regular conversation about like sports or something. And he wrote all of that like on the spot.
Really?
And yeah, it was crazy. He didn't go home with it or nothing. He wrote all of it on the spot. All I told him was just like the concept that I was going for. You could be real playful with your words. Like you could do whatever. And he came up with that. And I thought that was like one of the most fire verses I've ever seen somebody do in person. And without like, and then really, you could really be under pressure like that. But Asar has been an amazing lyricist for so long. And he dropped a project last year called I Now Know. And it's incredible. So Asar is a very, very dope lyricist. Yeah, me and Asar was supposed to collaborate literally on Enjoy Life, which is funny you brought up that EP. That was the first EP I put out, and he was one of like the first artists from Chicago that I really enjoyed listening to. Before anybody really heard my stuff, I wanted him on one of my songs, and it's just funny how just years later we finally collaborated, and I'm glad that I was able to get bro on there. Like that was so cool and fun.
I mean, yeah. He had the verse in an hour, like really,
yeah, it's crazy, dude.
That kind of beat, that's crazy. That's really crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna listen to him. He sounds like
he's really good. Yeah,
he sounded good on the feature. I really liked it. So moving forward again with this song, Be Home.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that song is so beautiful. I love it so much. It's one of my favorites of the project. Coming to an end, but a very strong end of the project with this song and the next one, talking about your personal experience. And when I said this earlier, talking about these projects that you love, like Get Rich or Die Trying, Black Album, College Dropout, Be, paying homage to them. And the production reminds me of these soulful 2000s beats. I really, really like this song. I really like it. And I would love that you take detail on this one that seems like a really personal song.
Yeah. So literally, like, because I want to bring this album up once again, like, I wrote a lot of stuff, literally, like, my last album, Hotel 1105, I wrote a lot. And all completely in my notebook. Like I wrote 95% of the album in my notebook, and that was the first time I really wrote a lot of songs ever, just like on pen and pad. So I remember I had a song. Oh, I just thought about that beat that I haven't heard in a while. Wow, I just thought about something. So I wrote to this beat that I really loved. That producer that I didn't use it. It was a beat that I didn't use for Hotel 1105, but I remember the name of the file when I wrote it. It was called Don't Cry. And Don't Cry was literally gonna be a song like Be Home. It was supposed to be me kind of breaking down what life looked like in the early 2000s when I grew up, from being in a family apartment that my grandmother owned, where I was on the second floor, and then my auntie and my cousins were upstairs in the basement. My uncle and his kids was downstairs, and there's so many family pictures in our photo album, which one day I'll say that for the documentary, but like literally, dude.
Oh, you got a documentary coming?
No, well, later on in the future, when I finally make one, yeah. Okay. Yeah, like I really want to like show that, but like it was crazy. Like that was the time where I felt like I was the closest to my family, if that makes sense. So I always wanted to make a song about that, because literally, like, music is universal and it's also lifelong. So even when I'm gone, or any one of our favorite artists is gone, the most beautiful thing about music is that it'll never go away. It'll always be here to be shared and enjoyed by people that's listening. So my main goal with creating, and even moving forward, and even with this project, I always want to continue to make songs that's pinpointing pivotal points in my life. That's my ultimate goal, is to be able to tell every story that I possibly can of my life through the music. And I knew that I'm just grateful that I was able to think about that time period and being able to talk about what it was like growing up and living on the South Side, and living in Marquette Park in Chicago, and talking about how the apartment was, and how we had the treehouse in the backyard, which I also had pictures of when I was a kid, and remembering places like Blockbuster in Chicago, and there was a few other places, and there's only one left now in Portland, which is, I'm hearing it's supposed to be gonna be taken down eventually. But Blockbuster was like a place where you was able to rent movies. Yeah. And if you've I don't know if you've ever been before, but
oh yeah, I mean it's my
oh yeah, dude. Oh, exactly. Okay, good. I love it. Dude, it was amazing. You know, it started off in the 80s, and then 90s kids, and even in the 2000s, like it was, you know, that was the height, and it was just a good time, man. And I remember places like when buffets were popular, and going to Old Country Buffet on Sundays, coming from church and being with my family, and going to places like Circuit City. And it was even places like Radio Shack. Those two places, like Circuit City and Radio Shack, was the equivalent of what Best Buy is now. And I just wanted to be able to talk about those times and put myself back into that. And every time I listen to it, even when I talked about breaking my first drum set, like that was a true story. Like my mom used to buy me all kind of stuff when I was very heavy into wrestling, like WWE, and I always loved music too, and sports. But like I remember when I first got that drum set, and I literally, like, I was just hitting the drums like too hard. Like it wasn't like, it was a kiddie drum set. It wasn't professional or anything. And I broke. I busted through one of the drums like in a heartbeat. So I just wanted to talk about those times, and then being able to talk about that on B. If you haven't noticed yet or not, if you literally just listen to both songs together, it's literally me connecting my life from when I was a child to how I've gotten to where I'm at today, and literally in the span of 5 minutes, being able to like go on tour and see the world, and being able to like sell out a show in Toronto and then go to New York, and it's like 100 people there, and that's my first time going there for the first time, and doing the On the Radar freestyle, and that went pretty viral. That went pretty viral when I dropped that, and dude, like, and going to Montreal and spending time and meeting with like NFR podcasts, and they showing like Anthony from NFR is like showing me around town, and we went to the Olympico coffee cafe, and then he took us to one of the best bagel shops in Montreal, and Montreal was beautiful. Like the old town had like the old cobblestone and the Ferris wheel that I hate getting on Ferris wheels, but I just do it because it looks good. Just being up there, but like I don't really like heights that much, but I still did it. The food was amazing. It was me and my guy Andrew Walker, who's my booking manager. We did a lot of traveling, man, and it was fun, dude. It's just I wanted to talk about that experience, and it's just crazy talking about it to you even now. Like to think about that, like coming from where I come from and coming out of areas in the city where it's like Chicago is beautiful, but it's also a lot of violence that goes on, especially in the Black communities, and and to be able to kind of come from that and for me personally, to be able to choose a path where I was able to kind of stay out of trouble. And my mom kept me busy in sports and stuff. And just to see where I've come from since then, to me, that entire song was literally a way for me to be the voice and representation of my family. And I'm just happy and grateful that I came a long way from that. So it's like, I feel like even from what I talked about on that song, I've already like made it big coming from where I come from, because people don't even get experiences to be able to do stuff like this. So I'm grateful that I was able to make that. And that's literally like the entire meaning of it, like the timeline of my life up until this point.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really beautiful the way you put it in perspective, and how you say like I chose to have this path instead of the violence or everything that happens there. I mean, there's a lot of people here in Mexico that can relate to that situation, because there's a lot of cities that are really beautiful and big, a lot of culture, but it has a lot of zones in every city that's present. So yeah, that we can say that I can relate with now at the same time, because it's really different. But same thing on The Art of Hunger. That's my favorite song of the project. And same thing, like very emotional. You told me that you really wanted to talk about that song because it's the last one. And as much as I really love this song and I want to talk about it and I want to tell you like this bar, this beat and everything, I really want to let this one to you and expand on it, like really tell what you feel about it.
Dude, like I started writing that song of October of last year. And I finished writing it in June. It took me a long time to write because that was the first song that I wrote after I dropped my last album. I didn't have anything else written but that. Like I started on that, and it was literally to a completely different beat. I did I used like four different beats to that song, like that I wrote before I picked the final one. And Art of Hunger was literally, before I even had that name, the song was called I, and it was literally me like describing like how I'm feeling, where I'm at in life right now at the time, going through what I went through and trying to segue into like wanting to know what I wanted to create next, knowing that I was still dealing with the traumas and the hurt and all of the things that I dealt with, that I talked about on Hotel 1105. It's like, it's not that easy to try to like move on to the next phase of my music. It just came out, but I always love continuously like listening to new things, and because I love creating, but like it's not that easy for me to just jump into something else and make it. So, but one day I just felt it on my heart that I needed to write again, and it was months later, because I wrote it I started writing it in October. I just wrote the first thing that came on my heart, and I just continuously just kept thinking about, how my past life was, and being divorced and really having to talk about that. And I was afraid to talk about it at first because it was like, for one, I was trying to trick my mind into thinking at the time that I was like 100% over what I went through. Being able to like go through a lot of heartbreak and hardship, and then convincing myself like, oh, I'm over it now. I don't want to talk about that anymore. But literally, your heart will never lie to you. You know what I mean? And sometimes our mind might play tricks on us, but you really have to go where your heart is. And I always got to remind myself and remember that when I'm creating, like I want it to come from a real place, and I got to be 100% honest with myself. And that's literally just what started coming out. I'm like, I still feel a lot of things that I haven't talked about. And I also wanted to put a conclusion to what I left on my last project. I think some people might get an idea of what I was dealing with, but I was never like, I didn't literally put everything literally completely on the forefront as far as like being direct with what happened. It was kind of like open-ended. So I feel like The Art of Hunger was like a conclusion on what I dealt with on my last album and then connecting it to where I'm at today. And that song is just extremely emotional for me because that was me literally pouring out everything that I've been feeling over the past few years. And I'm just happy that I've put it out, for one, and that it literally struck home with so many people. Like, I remember performing the first two verses of that song. I did it at a few of my shows this year, but the first show I did it at was at this venue called Reggie's in Chicago, which Mac Miller performed there back in 2010 during the Kids tour. Yeah, and I headlined there, and I got the video on my IG. I did Waves and Moonlights to that at the venue, and then literally the last song of the show was, which also you can find the clip actually on my YouTube. I performed the first two verses of Art of Hunger on the Love Yours instrumental by J. Cole. And when I performed that, it lit up the entire room. Like, it was people in the crowd crying. I broke down crying tears, like rapping that verse. And that's what literally like motivated me to like, nah. Yeah, that's what motivated me. Like, you know what? Nah, I got to put this out. Like, as much as I want to quote unquote move on, I can't move on without being honest. And it's like, that's what's going to set me free if I just finally, for one last time, put a conclusion on how I'm feeling. And then now I can move on. And I finally did that. And that's why I wanted that to be the last song, to kind of show how I was feeling, you know, last year, how I was feeling in the moment, into like now where my mindset is now. Just like what I talked about earlier, it's like, I'm at a point now, it's like I'm living life a lot more for myself and learning more about myself that I've never gotten a chance to really have in a long time. You know, a lot of times in my life, I've always been occupied with so many things that might have distracted me, or I was just dealing with a lot. This was the first season in a long time in my life where I felt like I could finally, you know, focus on myself and ask myself these questions, like how I'm feeling today. What do I need to do to be a better version of me? And that song is literally just like the definition of what I visualize as what hunger is to me. The hunger to be my best self. And that's literally what this entire project is about. Outside of the production, outside of the lyricism and just the being fun and witty, the heart of the Art of Hunger and the heart of what the Hunger era is literally to push yourself to be the best you. And that's what I have hunger for, is one day being the best of me. And I never will stop being the best version of myself. It's always a level that I can reach. And that's where my mindset is now. Just want to be the best version of me. And I think if you can accomplish that, then you're living a pretty good life.
Damn, no, that's beautiful. I mean, I love the way that's like even a full circle moment. You know, like you started writing that with that song, and then it became the last song and the most emotional. And my personal favorite, I already told you.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, you're right.
It's an amazing song, a beautiful closing to the project. Like this whole hunger, drive, energy, with this closing that makes you vulnerable, but at the same time, like transparent to your fans, you know. And that's much how art works. Like, it's an expression of the soul, you know. That's how it should be. I love it. And so for y'all that are watching, that was the Hunger Era. You should listen to it. It's an amazing project. One of my favorites from the year. I really liked it. Also, Hotel 1105, if you haven't listened to it. Are you looking forward to any tour with this project or any shows?
At the moment, I haven't. I will be touring again. I just don't know if I'm gonna tour for this project specifically, or I'm gonna tour once I get the next album out and then go on tour and perform all of this.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know yet. But like, if a good opportunity comes where I gotta perform, yeah, I'll do it. But like, I think I wanna, like, because the Hunger Era is like the starting point. I really want to spend a lot of time working on that next album so I could put this story like completely together.
Okay, that's cool.
Because it's really like, it's another side of this that I want to tell. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I'm gonna be performing a lot though. When I finally do, when I figure that out, I plan on going to the UK.
That's dope. Yeah.
I want to go back to Canada. Yeah, I want to go back to Canada again. I plan on going back next year. I want to do a show in LA. I want to do some shows a few places. So I'm planning on putting like a big tour together when I do. Or if I just so happen to like go on tour with a big artist randomly one of these days, like I'm sure that could happen whenever. But you know, it's just really like an unexpected point right now. Really, it's a lot of good things coming, and it's a lot of good stuff is about to happen.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the beginning of it. I mean, you're saying you're dropping another project and even HOD and then this tour. So I mean, I'm really happy for you, man. Like, I couldn't wish the best for you with this project. I hope it gets growing with the time.
Thank you.
With these fans. I hope the people that see this interview start listening to it and listening to your other music like Hotel 1105 or this Color Blue, as I said, even the first EP, anything. I want to thank you so much for giving me this interview that it's amazing. You spoke a lot about your music and you gave a lot of context, and I really love that about artists that really talk about their music and not about what happens out the music, like, I don't know, gossips or anything like that, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I
appreciate that.
I really have a good time listening to you, man. And as we're getting to the end of this interview, I just want to ask you for two big favors. Like, first of all, never stop doing this, man. Never stop making music.
Gotcha.
Please, you really do it pretty well. And second of all, I forgot the word. You should keep giving your time, you know, to make this music. I think if you combine these things, you can make amazing projects like the Hunger Era, Hotel 1105. I wanted to ask you that, keep giving you your time. And with that said, do you have any last words for this interview for the people watching?
I just want to tell everybody, continue to strive, continue to go like all out for your dreams on a day-to-day basis. I think something for me personally that we all have to remember, and I'm glad you asked me that question because I know exactly what I really want to say. Is like, I think a lot of us that are like ambitious people who are chasing our dreams on a day-to-day basis, we all sometimes might deal with the effects of imposter syndrome, which is kind of like feeling like you're not doing enough, even though you've done enough to be completely worthy of the things that you receive on a day-to-day basis, and reminding ourselves that we are deserving of what we have, and we're not falling behind either. Like, I think oftentimes I've dealt with the pressures and literally just like sometimes the negative sides of being extremely hard on myself to the point where I forget that I've came such a long way, but I've also am living in the present of things that I prayed for and I dreamed about years ago. So I want to end this off with saying, always remember that. Always remember where you were a year ago or 6 months ago, and remember that, but also keep that and hone in on that as motivation, and know that wherever you're going to get in the future, you're going to be looking back on 2024 and thinking the same thing. You know what I mean? And I'm saying that for myself as well. I got a lot more to do, but with that in mind, I also want to be appreciative of where I'm at now. It took work to get here too, so that's what I want end it off with.
Hey man, thank you. Like, really appreciate your time, the time you took to do this interview. I'm really sorry for the delay with the Google Meet thing. And
No, it's all good.
I think that's it. I mean, remember guys, the Hunger Era is out now. You should go listen to it. And that's pretty much it. So thank you guys. You can say bye to the camera. Yeah, thank you, bye. Thank you guys, bye.